Yeah, my name is Adam Feldman. I got into IT back in 2015 for a career path. I had done it just throughout my life in my teenage years, just from little side jobs, working for Dell, selling computers for them, working as IT support for the UCSD library, and doing audio and visual projections for the media department there. So that was prior to what I'm doing in IT now as a career. I studied econ at UCSD, didn't really like finance for the 3 years, then jumped into IT uh, by going through unemployment and having them pay for the first 4 certifications that I got through their transitioning program. From there, I went ahead and just got other certifications throughout the years. Currently, I'm working as an IT specialist for the US Navy. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much in terms of where I'm at with my career at the moment, and just needed a transition from finance to IT, which I'm very happy about. But in regards to potentially purchasing computers for users who are on the advanced spectrum or on the very beginner spectrum, you just need to kind of assess what you're looking for, what you do, and what your needs are, and how much you have to spend on the particular tech device or computer for this instance uh, that will suit your needs. I typically recommend, if you're looking at any computer, at least nowadays, to have minimum a dual core that would be hybrid threaded. So that means you have to have 2 physical cores, at least 4 logical cores. That's for the processor. That's basically the brain of the computer. And then ideally, at least 8 GB of memory. They refer to that as RAM as well. And then for the hard drive, ideally would like minimum 256, 500 would be better, 512, or something even larger, but I don't really see people utilize their entire hard drive space just because not everybody has all this data, but like I said, it depends on the user and depends on what your needs are. But a solid state drive in terms of upping the performance of the device will help dramatically, even on older devices, which I currently have some computers that are 10, 12 years old. The one I'm talking to you from right now is 12 years old, but it works great as long as you know how to refurbish it or take it to someone who does. You can find computers, for instance, as cheap as $100, 50, all the way up to a few thousand. Just depends what your needs are and what you're looking for. If you're trying to go obviously on the cheaper end of the spectrum, sometimes you're obviously going to find used computers, whether it be through refurbished manufacturers, for instance, Apple, Dell, HP, all the major brands have refurbished computers, so you can get those last year's models at a discount that they have tested and verified work appropriately, and they obviously have smaller warranties, but you can get extended warranties if that makes you more comfortable. You can also go private party, which is what I typically do since I'm more on the advanced end of the spectrum, being able to replace parts and analyze issues that are going on with the device. So for instance, I just purchased a XPS Dell 13-inch for my mother, which retails generally around $1,000 plus. I was able to pick it up for around 300. Wiped it, reformatted it to the when it was Windows 10 operating system, and put all their files back on appropriately. It just all depends on what you need and what you want to do. Michelle, is there anything you want me to specifically add in terms of the avenues or which sites I typically go to?
Yes, please.
Okay. So if you're going to be going private party, typically I normally look at Craigslist, I look at Facebook Marketplace, I look at OfferUp, I look at eBay, I look at Amazon. You're just going to find cheaper offers or down those paths because you're just going to avoid the big retailer or these big companies that are going to charge you some type of service fee or premium just based on having their double check and look at it. So if you are on the beginner side of the spectrum, I highly encourage you to look at the big box retailers. I always typically find great deals at Best Buy, and I get their warranty package, so I can just always continue to roll that over, and it's just not as a burden for money generally because of that warranty that is offered, and every time you get it replaced, you just renew the warranty. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of how I go about shopping if I'm going on the cheaper end or more expensive end. And if you feel like you just need the brand new computer and don't want any bugs, not saying that there will be from the refurbished, but just so you have the peace of mind, then obviously go brand new directly through the manufacturer and get their warranties as such. But yeah, I always prefer going through Best Buy or Costco as opposed to the brands directly, because I feel that their warranties are generally easier to deal with as opposed to sending them out to the manufacturers and you can just bring it into the store. Sometimes they'll give you replacements, sometimes they'll just take it and give you the dollar value for it, and then you can buy something else. It's just a much easier route I've experienced ongoing. So the manufacturer isn't bad. I do want to state that, like, they are, it's fine going through them. It's just going to be a lot more time inducive for the individual who's trying to work with them in terms of sending out parts, like back and forth shipping is just going to be a much bigger burden with time, money. It's just going to be a bigger headache overall. So dealing with the Best Buys or the Costco's or these big box retailers, whether it's Walmart, Target, or whomever, sometimes if they have like their geek squad or their tech department that's able to fix it on site or send it out, but just the whole experience is easier and you're obviously getting the same type of service, I typically find that it's a lot easier route to go. Costco, in my opinion, is great in terms of their customer service and their warranty. Best Buy is very good as well. Walmart and Target, typically they outsource theirs, so it's not as easy, but it's still substantially better from experience from the big box retailers, which have you do a lot of the troubleshooting sometimes yourself as well, which can be frustrating for an end user who's not necessarily tech savvy. So this topic will obviously be regarding cell phones, the cell phone device itself, in addition to the service provider who you choose. So as we know, at least in the US and throughout the world, each country for that matter has their primary network service providers. For the US, it's going to be Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Those are the major players, and those are realistically the networks that are provided to consumers like myself. However, there are much cheaper options these days in order to be getting the service from those providers. I have not been going to one of the major providers for at least 5 to 10 years now, maybe even longer, I can't. But what I have been doing, I have been using their network because that is the only option we have in our respective countries. But I go through the method of going through what's called an MVNO, which stands for Mobile Virtual Network Operator. I currently use with my family the Verizon network, but through Spectrum Mobile. The caveat to this is that you have to have Spectrum service, whether it be internet, TV, or phone, to be eligible to qualify for Spectrum Mobile. However, there are multiple other MVNOs available to the public, TracFone being huge in one of them. There's multiple subsidiaries of TracFone. Simple Talk, Straight Talk, these are all subsidiaries under TracFone, which buys large sums of data, and that's what these MVNOs are from the major networks. So TracFone, for instance, can offer you service for Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, but it's all going to be paid, and you're going to be paying TracFone, and they are the company that technically owns your number and provides you service. However, you are utilizing one of the big three's networks. So that's typically how I go about shopping around, and you can just see just Google search best MVNO for if you like Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. It just depends on what area you are in primarily and where you conduct business and what, as you have experienced over the years, provides you the best service in your area. So, but beyond that,
I had a follow-up question in regards to that.
Go ahead.
What is the purpose of getting a MVNO service instead of your traditional contracts or things like that?
So the benefit of going through the MVNO as opposed to the major three and not being locked into a contract is that you are not in a contract A. B, you're paying month to month. And generally, you shouldn't be paying, in my opinion, more than $45 per line, ideally 30, because that's what Spectrum Mobile offers. It's one of the best MVNOs in the game right now in terms of service that it provides, as well as the cost. So it provides you unlimited calls and texts, which is standard, as well as unlimited data. I believe they might throttle it, and throttling means they might slow down your internet speed after 20 or 25 gigabytes downloaded. So that's the main thing that you just have to be aware of, and that's going to be with any provider. If you are just a data hog and just on the phone constantly and not using Wi-Fi, they will generally throttle your speed to the internet. So that's one thing. But yeah, so that's another thing. And then if we're going to be going down, what's it called? Yeah, so I highly recommend going through the MVNOs because I don't like being locked into contracts. I feel they also charge all these excessive fees, the major providers. The MVNOs provide a flat rate of $30 even. Currently, I'm with T-Mobile and I'm paying $40 even, but I've got the remainder of my family paying $30 for their unlimited plans on Verizon. So in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. These companies have been around for multiple years. You can check them out, like you can Google them. It's just not well marketed. And obviously the big companies, the major three, in our case, but other countries do the same, they monopolize the market for good reason because they don't want you to go these other routes.
Right. And I think this is interesting because I just came back from Ghana in late October, and that's exactly what they do there. Every month they pay even for internet, like it's like a monthly thing. So
exactly.
Yeah, the more you know.
It's true. That is, yeah. The more you know, the more you can do.
So that.